Hi, everyone. It's Hannah Nieves of the HN Haus Podcast, and we are back. And I'm so excited because we're going to be talking today about visibility and PR. And this is probably the number one thing that people come to us for at HN Haus, that people ask questions about. And I really want to break this down because when people think of PR, I think it can be really overwhelming and or we think our brands are not ready yet for PR. And I really want to kind of demystify this whole process for you because it really is so powerful. And I just want to give you a little bit of a backstory. When I first started my brand a few years ago, I didn't even have a website, and we got featured in Business Insider. We had Medium, Authority Magazine, Thrive Global, and I just want to share that this, was obviously a messy process in terms of, getting those placements. We did not have a website in place. I did not have a team. And I really want to encourage all of you here too that you can do this. So even if you do have a full marketing team, you can execute this. But even if you don't, you can still also execute this. So I just want to talk about like why this is so important because number one, we all need visibility for our brands. And if anyone tells you that you don't, they're lying to you because you need it. You need visibility and eyeballs on your brand to actually convert customers. So whether you're doing it organically, whether it's, promoting on social media or you're developing a really strong email list, or maybe you pay for your visibility through ads, which there's nothing wrong with that. You have to either have paid or organic. You need that visibility to convert. And when it comes to third party credibility, this is where it gets really interesting. Third party credibility is where that third party source says, you know what? I'm going to trust Hannah because of XYZ. It starts to build that credibility with an audience. So when they start to read that article or listen to that podcast or hear you speak at an event, there is trust that's developed, and trust is going to equal sales. So when we think about these different styles of content, I always like to think of them in multiple buckets. So we have our own content, which is, the stuff that we put out on social. And when I say owned, it's more of in quotation, right? We technically don't own our social media content, but own content on social, on website, and blog. Then we have our paid content right through ads and sponsors and sponsorships and partnerships. And then we have earned content. And that's where earned media comes in. And that's where this is, for example, getting on different podcasts, getting featured in a magazine or online. So these are all different ways that you can get your brand out there. And this has helped clients not only, build that credibility to land larger speaking engagements, but it's also helped translate into sales. And what I always say is that, that media placement in a magazine or an article might not necessarily translate to sales right away, but what it does do is build the trust and authority. So when people see that, they're going to ask you to come speak. They're going to ask you to come collaborate with them because there's that trust that's being developed. And in those cases, you can then start to sell your services and products from there. So that's kind of the backstory. And we've always focused on PR since the beginning. I think a lot of people shy away from it because we just think that posting on social media is the only way of getting visibility, and there's so much more around that. So I want to give you guys a plan to execute. You guys know that I love to give straight to the source here, and you should be able to take, this content from this podcast episode and start to apply it. So number one that I want you to do is I want you to zoom out for a second. PR can be really easy to zoom in and get really tactical, and you get really in the weeds, which then causes a lot of overwhelm with founders. So I just want you to pause for a second and zoom out and really assess your goals. What are you doing? Why are you even doing it? That's another one. Why do you want to leverage PR for your business? Is it because you want more visibility, brand awareness? Is it because you're moving into a new division or industry? I'll give you an example. We're launching a tech platform, which means that my own PR is going to have to change personally as a founder. And I need to make sure that I'm being positioned in a different way. So really want to assess your goals, the who, what, where, why, right? And get very clear on your bandwidth, because when it comes to leveraging PR, a lot of people think it's just media. There's so many other ways of expanding visibility when it comes to your brand. So think about how much time do you have to allocate to this process for your business. That's number one. Assess what your goals are, long term and also short term too. Whenever I'm building out our PR plans or visibility plans, I build it out in quarters. So I might say, quarter four, we're doubling down on our podcast, we're doubling down on getting on other people's podcasts, and I'm doubling down on media placements, right? Or it could just be one of those things. So I like to break it down quarter by quarter. And so once you've really got this plan in place of why we're doing this, what platforms we're really going to target, who we're going to target, then we can start to actually build the plan out. Now, I want to give you guys some examples of easy, low lift ways that you're already getting visibility on your brand. A, social media, which you're leveraging right now. B, podcasts. If you don't have a podcast, having a podcast is one of the best ways to expand your brand personally and build thought leadership. But I always preface that you have to enjoy producing a podcast or like hosting a podcast because it does take a lot of work. And but I do think on the flip side, it is one of the most powerful ways to get content in multiple platforms. So there's podcasting, getting on a podcast tour. And what that means is you going around and getting on X amount of podcasts for a duration of time to share about your product or service. This could be LinkedIn or Instagram lives, which if you scroll back on our HN Haus account a few years back, you'll see we used to do a big segment in campaign on this where we used to interview people on the platform. And this is a really great way to get your brand out there. So think about low touch ways and then high touch ways, which are pitching yourself to the media, pitching yourself for speaking opportunities, pitching yourself for larger podcast opportunities that are out there. So once you've really defined the platforms that are available, then we can take it a step further and really get deeper on what specific platforms are we going to partner with. So when it comes to doing any type of collaboration, I always look at a few different things. Number one, who is the audience that is attracted to that platform or attracted to that media place or media outlet? Who are they? Do they align with your product or service? Really get clear on who that is. The second thing I also look at is number one, does this platform or person align with my values? That is a really, really important thing. It's very easy to say yes to going on XYZ platforms or partnering with people, and then you suddenly realize, oh my goodness, I actually don't share the same values at all. And you can tarnish your brand reputation really, really fast. So really make sure that you're partnering with people that align with your goals and values and have the same integrity that you do, because this will pay off in the long run so much better. So then from there, once you really define, okay, this platform has this person, I align with this platform from here, you can start to either build a list, or what I like to do is I like to build time in my calendar first. Because like I said, this starts to get really, really big, really, really fast. So I always say, number one, how much time can you commit to this? And this could look like, you know what, Hannah, I only have 15 minutes a week or I have an hour a week. Put it on your calendar first. Put it on your team's calendar, whoever is going to execute. You might be at the point when you're watching this that you're like, listen, I don't have time to do this. I need to outsource. Great. Send me a message. I can put you in the right hands. So really get clear on the time. Really get clear on your goals. Really get clear on your success milestones. Now, if clients come to me and tell me that their only success milestones are I want to have logos on their website, I usually will tell them that we're probably not a good fit to work together, because it's just one vanity metric and it's so much deeper than that. When it comes to getting visibility for your brand, you have to be in it for the long haul, because it's not like paid ads. It's not like paid ads where you turn them on, right? And you can track the CPL, you can track the stats behind them, which you can do in PR and in visibility, but it's a longer term play. And if you're not committed to the longer term, we probably aren't a good fit to work together. So really get clear in your success milestones. And for visibility and PR, guys, this is not just the logos. This is not just the sales. This could look like impressions, reach on your platforms. This could look like I'm going to get really nerdy here for a second, but if you're on Google Analytics, this could look like the traffic acquisition. There's a really great tool I love by Neil Patel, and it's the backlink URL lookup. So if you put your website into this tool, which I'll link in the show notes, you can see all of the websites driving traffic to your brand. And I find that so fascinating because usually for us, and if anyone wants to go put our website in, you can actually do this on your own. You can see all of the websites driving traffic back to our own websites, which I think is so powerful. So, backlinks is another metric that we also look at, brand awareness, follower growth, audience growth, and then lastly, sales. And this is going to be really powerful for any of you here that are leveraging podcasting because you can really see the ROI in terms of sales just by using UTM tracking links. So, those are just some of the success milestones that we look at when it comes to, tracking your visibility efforts as well. And then overall, like I said, audience growth size at the end of the day. So we're not just looking at how many followers did we gain from Instagram. We're looking at how many followers, how many downloads did we get on the podcast, how many YouTube subscribers did we gain this week? What is our visibility on all of these platforms because they work together. So now we've done a lot of the prep work, which I know this is a lot on this episode, but I want to give you the tools because we are heading into the last quarter of 2023. And this is the perfect time to focus on this in preparation for next year. So now we need time to actually execute this whole thing. And I'm going to give examples here so you can see. But like I said, build time in your calendar is number one. Two, you want to track efforts here. Really want to set milestones to see, okay, from this point to this point, we've seen an increase in blank. And then from there, we need to start executing on those platforms. So if you're looking to pitch yourself to the media or you're looking to pitch yourself to a podcast, what's the most important thing? Your messaging. So you need to have a clear angle and or topic that you can speak on that makes sense, to the platform and also the podcast host, and that is timely. If you're listening to this and I'm looking at all of my business and marketing and anything that's more, I want to say generalized, I hate to say it, but there's a lot of content on there about marketing and business. So what makes what you do different? If you specialize in sales, let's talk about sales and AI right now. Like how is that impacting your line of work, right? So really think about what you do and what makes it timely in this season right now. And this is really important. I get pitched a lot for our own podcast, and I can't tell you how many times I'll get pitched topics that we've produced before or done before, or things that just don't even make sense for our audience. So really just like take the time out in your day to actually listen to the podcast first. If it's a media platform like a Forbes or New York Times or any of these more like traditional outlets, one of the best things I really love to do is more of tracking a media trail. So what that means is that you will go ahead and, say look up a competitor in your space and you'll see, okay, this competitor has been featured on these different outlets. And you can do this through Google News, and Google Alerts as well. So you can go and see the media trail of that competitor of yours. And then what I like to do is start to take a note of who are the writers writing about this company, right? Because if this company is talking about marketing, but I also talk about marketing in a different way, I might be able to provide complementary insights for that writer that already talks about those things. So you want to make sure that you do the due diligence, and this is where a lot of people fall off. So I'll give you an example. We're launching a new platform, a new tech startup right now. And I just developed the PR plan and I did a media trail run for multiple different companies and was able to pull out, okay, these are the top 15 platforms that we are going to target and we are going to connect with to let them know about this new platform that we're creating. So I started with doing a media trail from there, start to build out the list from there. And now what I like to do, this is like kind of the icing on the cake, is set up Google Alerts. So I love to track Google Alerts for competitors, for writers, for maybe specific podcast hosts, because what it does, it'll surface the internet anytime those keywords are mentioned, and it's going to send you an email. So instead of me doing the heavy lifting, Google does the heavy lifting for me. So, this is where the execution piece comes in. And guys, if you're listening to this and thinking, oh my goodness, I don't have the time to do this, go back to basics. Go back to the time constraints that you have. You don't need to pitch all of these outlets all at once. You don't need to pitch all these podcasts all at once. If a client comes to me and tells me I want to land media and podcasting and I want to launch my own podcast within the same month, I tell them we need to take a step back because it's just way too much work. And I always get asked questions as to how we can support you at HN House with these types of things. So I just want to go over that with you in case you're listening and thinking like, oh my goodness, I want to start executing and running with this. You have a few different options. We have our PR masterclass. I'll link this in the show notes. We have had hundreds of you go through this masterclass, and this is a really great tool if you just want that quick hit. It's 90 minutes. You have the tools and resources, and you can run with it. It takes everything that we're doing on this podcast episode a layer deeper, and it gives you the tools. The second thing you can do is book an intensive strategy session when it comes to PR, and we'll take it up a notch. We'll meet for 90 minutes. I'll give you the roadmap on the outlets and a sample pitch template to use. You are on your way, and you have me and my team on email and Slack for 2 weeks with questions. And then we have our quarterly PR plan. If you're like, listen, I want it all, and I want all the tools and resources, and I want your support over a 12-week period, that's the package for you. So we have several different types of ways that we can help clients out when it comes to PR. So if you're listening to this and thinking, okay, this is something that I'm so interested in, but I'm not sure when I want to do it, just reach out. We're here to support you. But my hopes with listening to this episode is that you actually take action on this. A lot of people come to me telling me, this is a goal of mine, this is a goal of mine, but we need to put the plan in place. So that's the intention of this episode. And I hope this was helpful for you. So just to recap, we talked about PR and visibility and why it's important, how to assess our goals, how to build a plan, how to actually track success, and how to actually bring this thing to life. So if you have questions on any of this, you guys know we're an open book here. So my DMs are open. Send us a DM at HN House, and I'm happy to answer any questions that you have, and I'll see you on the next episode.